Well, hello, and we're here for week 7 of season 3 WTRL Zwift Racing League. I'm Kate Bates. I'm dropping in this week in place of Anna Russell, joined by one and only Nathan Guerra. Nathan, we're headed to the Magnificent 8 this week. Is it going to be magnificent? What do you reckon?
This is a great course for a team time trial, I think, Kate. You know, I was on productions this morning. I've actually raced this one quite a bit for team time trial as well as for, just scratch racing. And the reverse KOM, obviously, we can actually bring up a course map here real quickly. And I think this reverse KOM is the only place out on course that you really have any kind of real ups. But even that reverse KOM, as you can see, it's not a super sharp punch. And right off the bat, I think you were pointing out this morning in APAC that, some of the teams just kind of gave it full gas, and that little, I think it does get into a 13% gradient very quickly, though. It's like only for about 10 seconds. Everybody finds their spot after that little kick, and then after that, it's kind of just these little ups and downs at a steady 3 to 5% gradient over and over again. So after that, Fuego Flats and right on back underneath Ocean Boulevard, you kind of just get into a rhythm as a team and make sure that your poles are correct, you're in the right place, and don't mess everybody up, essentially. So I really enjoy this course, actually, when it comes to team time trials.
Yeah, it is one of the better ones. And you're right, that first reverse KOM has the potential to do a bit of damage. And what we saw in APAC was certainly a lot of gaps opening up that were slightly concerning, but it came together, back together pretty well. So we don't need to freak out tonight if we see that happening, for sure. And was also pretty fast. So about 45 minutes. It's just shy of 30 kilometres. And we are noticing that if the teams manage to get into a good rhythm, that they're really getting some high and consistent speeds. The other thing, Nathan, a lot of very tight time gaps. So between the teams, we really found that there were some 1 and 2 second gaps at the top, in the middle and at the bottom. Because the other thing at play tonight is, of course, being week 7, we've only got 1 week left of normal season, which means that there are teams looking to get promoted. There are also teams trying to avoid being demoted. So across the board, everybody's got a little bit of a motivation to be out there. We'll take a look at the standings to get a bit of a picture of who might be chasing what this evening.
Yeah, and we are in with the EMEA Women's Division 4B that we'll be jumping in with today, that we'll be covering. There are also a couple other categories with Division 4 that we will go through their standings. But at the top, Vikings Idun, absolute domination, it looks like, have not lost a race, 120 points. Z Sunflowers there, 112, followed by the Vegan Bats at 107. Team Electric Spirit, their Clover Club, in 4th at 97 points. Herd of okay, this one's messing with me. Magellanic Penguins. Wait. What? I don't know what they're trying to tell me
I would say Magellanic, but they're a special. I love my penguins. I think they're South American penguin. They're like,
you actually know about these penguins?
I do. Yeah, we love penguins in Australia. They've got a beautiful stripes across their chest, so they're very pretty.
I'm gonna get a picture of these. I'm getting a picture of these up there. As soon as we have these guys on screen, we are showing off the HDR Belladonnas, 91 points. Kirchmer Freebies are flying free at 84. It's Team Italy, Pink Ladies, followed by VCRT Viz. They're really messing with me today.
Vislas.
You got all the animal names. What is going on here? Pink My Ride. I like that name as well. In 10th at 63 points. That's the standings in the B's for this Division 4. In the C's there, Kate.
All right, let's take a look at these. We've got the BM Pro Ladies for Nimisat, Kirshmere Power, Queen Bees. The Rafa RCC Women, 2 Herd of Rock Hopper Penguins, another type there. They're all pretty tightly bunched there, so that could be certainly a 4-way race that we can watch pretty closely. We've got the Greek Amazones back in 5th. The Drafting Dinos. It sounds like they've taken a bit of inspo out of the Zwift world. Rave C Euro in 7th. The BRT Panthers sitting in 8th. The Zesp Libras in 9th. And the RWB Serrano Hams makes me hungry. C2 sitting in 10th. At both ends of that top 10, we've got some good racing on.
The drafting dinos are here. Rave C Euro. I know a lot of these teams from WTRL TTT on Thursdays. The Serrano Hams as well. Very familiar names. Great to see them in this Division 4C in the Zwift Racing League. There is no pennant, looks like, for the East. So those are the only two for that. In the men's standings, though, we do have at the top in Division 1A for the West, Team Italy at 118 points. Zed Sunderstatement at 102. SZ Herma there at 99. Tied it up with Cryogen Valforens in 99 points as well for that fourth place. WTRL Skyrocket 86 points. BRT Hurricane 6th place at 85. Team Type 1 Asymptomatics at 83. I wonder if they're saying asymptomatics because they're all family members of Team Type 1, perhaps. Kick and Dirt and Dirty, they're in 8th, 82. Team CLS Road Train in 9th. And then it's going to be DZR Dynamic Danes rounding out the top 10. And then for the category that we are going to have on screen today, it is the Bees, Kate.
The Beast Hellhounds, they are leading and quite comfortably, I might add, so they might be a bit of a favourite to highlight. Team NLB2, so the Dutch team, they are tied in second with Magento on 107. And oh my goodness, look at how tight this is across the board. The Road Rascals and Glasgow Clyde, as well as Team Electric Spirit Gibson, all on 93 points there. The KW Wheelers, they're on 7th. Provision Racing on 8th. The After Party people, they're my folk. They are in 9th, and the BRT Craft Beers rounding out that top 10. So that's actually, other than that one team of Beast Hellhounds leading the way there, we've got some pretty tight racing down the board.
Yeah,
that could make for some good close time gaps.
Yeah, exactly. We'll keep an eye on TFC, the Netherlands, as well as the Danish riders with the Rascals and Glasgow, as well as Team Electric Spirit. I mean, that's all super tight. So we'll pay attention on the splits today for sure on those. Now, we also got Team Electric Spirit CO Picklebacks at 108, tied with TFC. This is a great division. Thor right there as well at 108, tied for first place. Cranley CC Babs there, 107. I mean, 1 point in the C's here. We'll maybe jump over later in the broadcast and see how things start playing out there, because we can jump over and they'll probably finish just a little slower than the Beast. LD Sawyer Squirrels there in 4th at 98. BRTC section there in 5th, coming through at 91. Isn't this the men's mix? There might be I wonder if there's quite a few women hanging out on that team in the mix here.
We all have a mother though, Nathan.
This is true. TBR Ford, that's a great point, actually. TBR 45T there, 89. Followed by RWB Serrano's C1, 88 points in 7th. KRTC Love Guns being a little bit nicer to us on the No Kiss My Anthea here with that Swiss one here. In 8th, Ninja CC Kengo 75, tied for that 8th place in its Team CLS Express. That is the C category in the Division 1 for the West. And then in the D's.
Ooh, the Slippery Seahorses. Try saying that too fast. They are at the top, but tied with the Delimited Diesels for 114 points. Good race there. The Dangerous Rhinos sitting in 3rd on 108, but only 2 back of the Cryogen Hard Not Pass. So that, again, a lot is on the line today. It will really end up changing this overall standings if that can get mixed up. PWCCD in 5th. Revenge. Ooh, that's like a sassy way to write that. In 6th. Glasgow Greif in 7th. I probably said that in a terribly British accent compared to what they expect. Martin can pipe in there. Cranley CC Last Orders. Well, they haven't managed to get to the start yet, but
they got the last orders. That's the perfect name.
Yes,
they'll just show up tomorrow. Yes. They'll show up next week. That's just for one race out on the Surrey Hills. Okay. Oh man.
It's one of those very descriptive names, yes. I mean, I think what we can see there, and it was similar with APAC, we have a lot of races within the race. It's not just for that overall that they're going through. But we also had a couple of upsets. On when the results finally popped up yesterday, we'd been watching a couple of very tight races between teams, and then all of a sudden another team kind of trumped them by the end. So I think that's also a good reminder that the teams have to absolutely race to the line, not just watching another team's splits, but actually knowing that, you know, every team is racing pretty hard.
I think this course, on the back end of this course, you have just a couple little bumps in there. There's also some sections you can really gain a ton of speed. Where I call it, I had a name. I had a name for it. I haven't been doing TTs in a while, and I haven't been using it. But it was like a roll through, a speed roll. I called it a speed roll. Like, and so on the back end of the Titans Grove, where you're leaving Fuego Flats, and then you don't actually enter Titans Grove. You just come up into it and see the redwoods for a moment. You take that left out toward Ocean Boulevard. That section, you can do a speed roll where you take one of or two of your riders from the back of the pack, accelerate them through, and have everybody jump on them. And then if you can get another one to accelerate through, next thing you know, you're like double super tucking on top of each other. All that speed's coming through. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people think it's about power, it's just watts per kilogram. No, you have to produce speed with that power. And you can actually, in the game of Zwift, waste a lot of power to get no speed for it. And I think a lot of people are starting to learn that. Especially into Ocean Boulevard, then too, there's a nice little like 57K you can do down there as well. Then get into Ocean Boulevard and do a solid rhythm. And if you're already doing almost 60K on that downhill versus you never even got into a super tuck because you were trying to rest and nobody really pulled through, that is a big difference in time that you can make actually on the back of this course. And I have a feeling that's kind of what we might be seeing with some of these teams that surprise us later in these splits.
Yeah, it's efficiency, isn't it? There's actually a few key points out on course, and we'll pick them up as they're going through it, where it can make or break. One of the first really noticeable one is over the top of that KOM, where if the riders...
I'll throw it on the screen here for you, Kate.
Oh, perfect timing. So up here, these gaps are going to naturally open up a little bit. But it's actually as they've reached that couple of 100 meters toward the top that we're just seeing now over there, that they need to very quickly get on the power and crank that speed back up, because they will be able to chase a little bit better down the climb when they do go down the other side, but they can be in danger of wiping a whole lot of speed off as a whole if they spend too much time waiting, I would say is the word. But you need pretty good direction from whoever is leading, whether they have an independent DS or whether it's one of the riders calling the shots. This is the kind of go, go, go time. Everybody's here. Let's do it. So these guys have actually managed to stay pretty compact and together over here, probably much more so than what we saw from some of the early APAC teams. But they do need to get back on that power and crank this up when they go over the top.
Much more organized than what we saw from a few of the APAC teams early on in the women's race, for sure. What we're seeing, this team, I think, set a agreed upon pace up over the top. Anna was talking about, remember this morning, like amongst her, the men's team, I think, for Cyrus the Pros Closet, just talked about, when we hit that reverse KOM, that first initial little part, everybody just kind of gives it as much as they possibly can, does their own thing. Everybody reorganizes at the top, but they have a lot of parity between each other when it comes to power. You might have a little bit more differentiation with some of these other teams. And because of that, an agreed upon pace, because if you blow things up and somebody has to chase back on, you really put them essentially into another pole that could have been at the front of your team at a different time, right? You only have so many matches and only times you can go into the red. And so agreed upon paces over those sharp sections really tend to help a ton.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it's really important for the mental aspect of it to just have a plan. So you're not thinking about how your legs feel. You're just kind of executing what you've been told to do, and you take the should I, shouldn't I element out of it, which is important. It's just shy of 30K, about 28.8 kilometres. But that last 10K is almost a completely different breakdown section of the race. You can break it into three elements. This first bit being getting over that KOM and re-establishing a little bit of pace, and then building some speed over the descent and onto the flat, and then that final run into home where they can really crank it up and there's not too much to worry about at all. They start with 6 riders. Well, we've only seen 5 here, but they can start with up to 6. Have to finish with 4. To have 5 is a bit of a disadvantage early on. So they need to make sure they look after each other a bit here, because sometimes, no matter the best plan, somebody might turn up and just not have very good legs, even though they might be planned to be the ones pushing the pace. So you've got to keep communicating there. They're heading over this KOM now. So it's only 2% over the top there, so they can afford now to kind of get on the pedals, put a little bit more power in, and really build the speed up over the next couple of 100 meters to get a good recovery, but also a lot of speed.
Ooh, a little bit of separation here, it looks like. This seems to be VCRT. They are using the same kit as Rave has been using, but looking pretty solid here. 5 together. A little bit of and sometimes it is deceiving when you get off the back a little bit through some of these little bumps. It is pretty easy to jump back on the downhill as long as you give a little bit of extra power on the back. And this is not necessarily the worst thing that Kennedy is doing here, making sure you're definitely off the back. You're not interrupting that last person's draft. Many times I've seen riders jump to the back of a team time trial and try and get right back on before they're not actually behind the last rider. And then because of the new drafting algorithm, they start pushing the rider in front of them off of the wheel. Right here, you can see a little bit of a push off the wheel. I think Wallace is doing it on purpose, though. I think she is going to the back because her turn is over. Now they're all trying to get organized again. This is actually fairly well done. If Wallace can jump back on, 164 beats per minute now. Now, I'm wondering, though, if Kennedy is supposed to be moving forward. She is. So this is, well, okay, again, and these are very short polls, too. Interesting to see. It seems they're taking a little bit of a page out of your playbook here, Kate, as you've talked many times about shorter polls being better over the long duration of a hard effort like this.
Yeah, I mean, it means that your heart rate never really gets that high. Like, you can push through. I mean, that's a relative way of putting it, isn't it? Because it still does get high, but you don't accumulate the same fatigue load as if you do longer on and off turns, and it also allows you to really keep that speed up. So essentially you're pulling off the front before your speed wanes at all, and cumulatively that tends to be a little bit faster, I find, if you can do it. Technically it is a little bit harder on Zwift though. And interesting what you say about the draft. Anna and I were talking about that in APAC, that it has changed quite a lot. Like, if you were used to what the draft effect was like before, you've actually had to recalibrate a little bit. How much do you think it affects a TTT versus a points race? Because I think it's made riding in a bunch a little bit more of a hazard. It seems like if you don't pay attention, it can kind of catch you out in a split second.
Yeah, it really can. And a lot of times, one thing that's the most frustrating is what I'm calling the elbows at this point. That you can kind of elbow people out of the draft in front of you over and over again. And we'll see if we can identify it a couple of times here. But there is a very precise, nuanced finessing of the power to grab right back on. And I heard Anna actually say that she even has some of her team members, when she's de-essing or herself, always almost have that 1 to 2 meter close the gap. Now, I don't know if they're using first person point of view or not, because in my experience, first person point of view gives you just enough to, I mean, that's kind of like a safety measure, in my opinion. Like, if somebody can't really control, or they're maybe using a trainer that overestimates, or they can't really finesse just exactness of watts too well on the trainer that they're on, that's a little bit much. But yes, you definitely, from my opinion, my standpoint of how I would ride it, but you can definitely come through with too much power, overestimate what you need to get onto a wheel, and then immediately push somebody off the wheel that's in front of you. Next thing you know, you're in the way. They got to come back on through you. Then the same thing can happen. They come back through you and boom, push you off a wheel. You're out of the, I mean, it's just back and forth, back and forth. So if you're very all over, and this is something when people aren't used to riding with power. Do you remember when you first got a power meter, Kate? It was like 300, 2, 1, duh, blah. It's like all over you realized how inconsistent you were with your pedal stroke and the power that you were putting out.
Yeah, so much information. You're right. It sounds like quite a nice, easy thing to do, to just hold a power. But if you actually try and hold your power even within, say, 5 to 10 watts, it's actually pretty difficult to do the minute that the road kicks up or you change surface. They're on the bridge at the moment. That quite wildly changes what your powers do. So it's nice in theory to say hold 240 watts, guys, and then we will, swing off after 20 seconds and this is the outcome you'll get. But that's not exactly the reality of it, especially when you can kind of jump someone off a wheel from behind. That is a whole new element. And previously, and certainly in real life, you have to worry about yourself more than your effect on others, especially when you're swinging off and trying to regroup on. So a little bit of consideration. You need to lay off the wheel a little bit more, or we can say you can afford to lay off the wheel a little bit more, which I think in some ways is a little bit more of a comfort. Let's take a look at some of the split times. Jeepers, they're going quick here. Nathan, Vikings Ida, 9:23 for that first 6 kilometre split. That is absolutely rocking along. Zed Sunflowers, 20 seconds back and another 10 seconds back to the Clover Club. But we've got 4 under. There you go, the Magellanic, I'm going to call them, Magellanic, pardon me, Penguins. I'm too busy with what they look like to say it properly. All 4 of them under 10 minutes for that first 6K, bearing in mind that KOM is in there as well. That is pretty fast. So let's see whether they've gone out pretty hard and might struggle toward that back end, or maybe we're just going to have some super blistering times. I do think that as each week it starts with the APAC League and we end with America West, that the teams evolve quite a bit through that process. It's almost like they've had a chance not only to recon the course, but to watch how some of the other results go and use that as a bit of a pacing guide as well. They're able to see the splits and say, okay, well, if they did that under 10 minutes, that's what we're aiming for. So it makes it a little bit more specific to their team strategy for the day.
Yeah, I think having that morning and seeing what the times were and how they came through is extremely. It's been really, really popular, actually. 9:23 is flying, though, and we're seeing why this has been the standout team. Already 20 seconds over the top in the 6 kilometer mark here now. They are at 120 points undefeated in this division. Now the battle, though, behind them, 10 seconds difference here between Zed Sunflowers and Team Electric Spirit. The Magellanic Penguins, only 1 second back, though, from the Clover Club. So it looks like we're going to have a little bit of battle here between Clover Club and the Penguins. Freebies not too far back either here. Belladonna's 2 seconds between them. Pink by Ride are having a really good race, actually, so far. We'll see if they went out a little bit hot, as they are the team that is at the bottom of the standings. But currently sitting in 7th place, though, on the day, only 2 seconds back from Belladonna. So maybe team time trialing a little bit more up their sleeve.
Team time trialing, we've had some incredible riders. I mean, in America's West, Nadia Gontova is the one that stands out week after week, who's just an incredible racer. Like, holy moly what she does. But she's pretty new to Zwift. So she doesn't actually have all of that experience. And I think that sometimes the teams that have some high-level Zwifters just get the technical side a little bit more. Anna and I had a good chat about that, about it not being purely about power and, the sum of the numbers on that regard, but who can actually ride and gel pretty well together. I mean, that's why you've got the weekly time trial league, the WTRL. A lot of these teams are pretty experienced out there. They've been doing a lot of this kind of racing, so it's quite specific to this event. This is a good kit, Nathan. I like this. This is Kim
the herd
Holm
kit.
watching.
I believe we're looking at, if I'm not incorrect, I believe we're looking at the Penguins here. I'm not absolutely positive, but this is your little Medja. Is that the one?
Yes.
That's the one, right?
Yeah,
Magellanic?
It is. Yeah, with that beautiful chest pattern. They look very proud. Penguins are such lovely animals.
I had to get a little pack of them too. I mean, I couldn't just show a single one. Looks like this is. I mean, they got some attitude.
You make
even
it sound like you mail ordered them.
Well, look at those guys. I mean, the gals maybe here because we are in with the women, but I mean, they've got some attitude. They're looking at the camera like, look, We got this here, okay? We are the penguins here with the stripes, and
Yeah, it's a gang of Magellanic penguins. Not so much a herd, but a total gang of them.
now
They're
GN even
very
has a
cool.
little bit of white and black here. They need to go full white and black on everything except for the kit, obviously, because it's the herd kit. But that's what we need here, so they can actually be the same colors as their spirit animals here out on course. And how
Well,
are
I
they
mean,
doing?
so
They're
that they
still at the
pass the Anna
954.
Russell test.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Fashion police all over this one. I'm wondering about Carrie here because this is a fairly low level Zwift setup here coming out of the UK. If Carrie is a little bit newer, Carrie Magic. She's actually got a penguin emoji in her Zwift Power. We're seeing rank in 527, so I'm assuming not a ton of racing. Yes, level 13 rider here from the United Kingdom. So very new to the world of Zwift racing. It's really, I always love to highlight these. Coming in just on March 21st. We're talking less than 2 months of racing under her belt, or even riding on Zwift, most likely. I love these recruitments jumping into the Zwift Racing League and hammering away, especially amongst the women's community as the entirety of cycling grows. Kate, I mean, something I would assume you'd be able to speak to very, with a lot of knowledge and depth around the growth of women's cycling and what Zwift and things like the Zwift Racing League that you're seeing happening right in front of your eyes with situations like Carrie Magic here.
It is so cool. I mean, I think the one thing when you're at a local, say, in real life race, and you see someone like Kerry Magic turn up, and you get nervous for them because you think, I hope that they have the skills to back up the fitness. Often they come from other sports, be it running, rowing, or something like that. So they'll be quite fit and quite capable, but you're kind of worried about the skill element catching up. What I love about Zwift is that we're seeing all of these incredible athletes really develop their skills, their strategic skills of racing, and their technical way that they ride wheels, hold wheels, do teams time trials, etc., kind of without that stress and pressure of physically not hitting a wheel and not worrying about falling off and all that sort of stuff. And I think we're getting a lot more talent through the doors than the old school traditional cycling model. I think Zwift has really opened up the door to racing to a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily get out there and do it. She hasn't done a lot of races. This is only her 29th race. Probably 10% of those have been teams time trials. So she's obviously been practicing that a little bit, and she has been out in EMEA Division 4 for this season. So she's coming along pretty well. She's got pretty good power numbers, especially watts per kilo when it comes to the 15 second. The reason I'll highlight that is because forgetting just the raw numbers, if you have a reasonably good watts per kg in 15 seconds, it indicates you've got a little bit of fast twitch acceleration. And in a team's time trial, almost that micro acceleration, the 1 second when you might drop a wheel and you have to just push back on, can make a really big difference to getting dropped or to staying with the group. And I find that the riders with those good 15-second powers tend to be very good teams time trialers because it gets them out of trouble without pushing their heart rate through the roof, because a 1 or 2 second acceleration won't do the same to you anaerobically as a 10-second chase wheel. So that's an interesting one to watch. But these ladies are about to do an overtake, so they've got a team in front of them that they're about to catch here, the Italian ladies. So Team Italy Pink ladies now only 5 seconds ahead of them. Bit of etiquette goes into the overtake, so let's hope that this is nice and clean. The women tend to be, Nathan, we tend not to have any messages pop up on screen that are cranky pants. Can't
Depending on the level,
fellas,
it definitely changes depending on the level. I've noticed though too. Like there's a little bit of like anyways, I've seen some pretty intense. Like it's kind of like in general, yes, and then almost like there's a couple of situations where it's like, whoa, that's way worse than anything I've seen coming from the men. like 1 or two, like, okay, here we go. But Not just kidding, just kidding. Just maybe
Oh, you want to get feisty now?
no. The in-game drama can be some of the best viewership anyways at times, but Team Italy here, they're looking fairly organized. It looks like as the herd team, the Penguins, are coming on through, they're going to gain some speed. It looks like they were kind of almost saving up to ramp up through here. They're going to do a real good job of passing through. Italy backing off just a tad, and that was very well done by both teams. Italy backed off the 1 watt per kilogram for a moment, as you could see. Now back to the front with 3.4, and you did see the herd team there press right on through. I did want to highlight Carrie for her Zwift Power profile that had that little Penguins logo, as you can see. So they've obviously put a good amount of thought, effort, and work into that team with their little mascot as well. So very cool and good on them for how well the cohesion and the team ethos that they're creating around herd. Always very cool to see. Team Italy, I think Pink Ladies 25-17. Gonna have to step it up just a little bit. VCRT Ladies, they're the next one. VCRT Vizslas, excuse me, the next ones that they are trying to chase down, but it's still a solid 40-second gap. But they are staying fairly organized. They'll still here with Paola, Elvira. It's going to be Sylvia, Angela, Margarita, and Marta. That is the situation on course. And they're definitely staying organized and going to finish out strong out here today.
Well, they've got the numbers in front of their names. We see that. When I first saw that, I didn't really understand the point of that. But now we've seen it work quite well, where they do have a little bit of a pecking order, and without having to look too closely at the avatars, because that can be hard to pick who's who, you can actually just take a look on the right of screen there, and we can see those numbers and the order, and you can get a bit of a feel for who may be who amongst this 6. So peeling back, they did a really good job. They were very respectful when they were being overtaken. There is a fair bit of etiquette to it, and we have definitely seen some teams kind of get jumbled up amongst each other. They tightened the rules a bit this season because, that's pretty poor form to do that, but dare I say it will still happen. People always find the edge of rules, but it is good to see a nice clean overtake happen without too much drama.
Ooh.
Going through, Joanna, where are your mates? Zed's son, she looks like she's in no man's land here. 48 seconds.
Looks like Zenson blew up 2 riders already, actually. Interesting enough to see. They are trying to take down the Vikings, though, and I think that may be why, because they can see in real time the Vikings chasing them. 3.7 watts per kilogram coming from Idun right now. They are the top team, and they have been trying to hold them off, but look at this. It's only 19 seconds at this point. I think the Vikings are going to be catching the Zed Sunflowers and having another amazing day and probably walking away with this one. Team Electric Spirit, Clover Club, and Zed Sun there. That's going to be the battle as well with the Penguins. So still lots of landscape to work with here, but I think Zed Sun went out really hard trying to have a good day up against the Idun.
Yeah, well, this is where you hope that they don't have any problems with any riders when they're down to 4 already. But they're approaching that kind of critical within the last 10 kilometres, which I think can give you a little bit of comfort. Even mentally, sometimes when you're out there and you're breaking it up, you're like, 20K seems quite a lot, but 10K mentally you can get your head around that. So we're looking at Lizzie Fuller, Sand Edwards, Marissa van der Lind is there as well. And then, I think that's Lizzie. Lucky Lizzie. And Joanna Stead as well. So the 4 of them are doing a very good job strategically of pushing to their absolute limits, because we talked about that as well with Anna, that it's sometimes good to see teams finish in pieces because at least that they've given it a good crack rather than really taking the line to safety. Certainly the teams that are really pushing the pace are having to do that because it's just so quick out there. So they're starting to go through that 20K split. At the 14K split, there wasn't a big difference between the first couple of teams, but that gap was opening up a little bit for the Vikings. So Zed Sun do need to kind of throw the kitchen sink at this if they want to pull that back.
Now, the battle that is really interesting to me is going to be that the Penguins there versus the Electric Spirit Clover Club, because they've kept it within striking distance. The Clover Club have gained another 5 seconds over the top of them at the 14K mark. The Penguins, if they've saved anything, though, and they can really, because the back end of this course, you get into these flat sections, it's all about rhythm. You kind of can just match speeds all the way through. You may gain a couple of kilometers here, or kilometers per hour here, a couple of kilometers per hour there, but being the flatter sections, unless you're just a level above when it comes to pure power and speed, you're not going to gain a whole lot. But how you take on this next section of course, as we jump in with the vegan bats, they're going to get it in sight in just a moment. Off in the distance there, you can see the up the Zwift as well as Watopia Mountain and the tower. Well, as you approach that section, they're going to take a right-hand turn out of the Desert Oasis area off of Fuego Flats and into Titans Grove. And right there, we do have a 3% climb for a solid minute and a half or so. And that section can really put some good time into the other teams who may be blowing up in the back end. And if you've got anything in reserves, it's time to drop anybody that you need that doesn't need to be coming with you to the line. You're only going to have somebody pulls down to 4 or 5 riders is just fine at that point, in my opinion. If anybody's struggling to come over the top at whatever you would call the limit, right? There's going to be a certain limit that you have to at least say, well, we're not going over 6 watts per kilogram. We're not going over 4. Just hold it steady at 5. Hold it steady at 4 for that climb. And if you can do that and other teams are only sitting at 3, that's going to be a solid 10 seconds or so. So this back end of the course, a lot of time can be gained. We're about to see exactly how each one of these teams are going to play that section.
Yeah, and you can look at the overall board and say, 10 seconds, that's a big gap. They're not going to be able to bring that back. Tell you what, somebody blows up over that last little climb, you can lose so much time so very quickly. I mean, we've all been there, right, where we pushed it just that little bit too hard, and it wasn't a small kind of explosion. It was quite spectacular, where you're almost unable to really put out more than about 150 watts when that happens. So I think that's also what's thrilling about a team's time trial, and what's so satisfying when everybody gets safely to the finish is it's always a threat. You're always kind of just hoping that everybody manages to keep their heart rate under control and keep their power up, even if they're starting to really hurt. A lot of the teams, we are noticing that they are dropping 1 or 2 riders, so they're coming in 4s and 5s. That's, as you said, pretty good tactic, but still pretty neat. We haven't seen any examples today of any kind of poor form that we've looked at them and thought, what on earth are they doing? For the most part, it seems today to just be coming down to speed and the power that they're able to produce, rather than anybody kind of stuffing it up.
Yeah, this is a very well-organized group, that's for sure, when it comes to the entirety of this category, from what I've noticed. Perhaps a lot of experience in here. I do recognize a lot of the names from the WTRL TTT on Thursdays. The TTT format, obviously coming from WTRL, it is not actually a game mode in-game. WTRL organized the TTT. We're on number 109, I believe it is, for team time trials, and that format then coming over into the Zwift Racing League. And so those teams that have been doing the team time trial on Thursdays for a long time, they do get a pretty big advantage about staying organized, knowing what to do, how to do it, or anybody who's watching those broadcasts or watching some of the other teams and getting some information from them. There's definitely a whole culture. And the interesting thing is that the crossover, when it comes to participation, you would think that it's like, oh, everybody who's doing the Thursday TTT is also doing the Zwift Racing League. It's just a whole lot of the same people. It's actually not. It's like half to 3/4 are completely different people. So when you get these groupings of people who do the team time trial as well, you can really see the difference, I think, amongst them. We are actually looking at the current leaders. 31-28. This is Team Electric Spirit Clover Company having a really solid ride. I like their matching kits. They're doing pretty good for the fashion police here. And it would be slightly proud. I mean, the only thing I would say is that the bike's here, but at least everybody's going with the orange. But, individually okay, but this especially, I'm looking here at, is it going to be coat? I mean, this is solid. Black gloves, black. I mean, this is really solid. She even got the headband. She is listening. She's got orange wheels. I mean, this is a
Yeah,
woman who has
on point. This
completely
is a 10
listened.
out of 10.
Except, well, maybe a half point because it's orange. I mean, you got this orange thing going on. I don't know what Anna's deal is with orange, but it's. I mean, that's probably one of the best organized I've seen so far.
Yeah, I would say that Andrea Cote has done a pretty stand-up job there. It's like she's been listening for some extra style points, but she's got the gloves, the socks, the bike, the headband. It all looks very flash indeed. I mean, you can choose the color Tron you have, so that beautiful orange is available to a number of them. Bike choice, Anna was quite particular about what she would ride out there, but bearing in mind that a lot of these riders won't actually have access to the disc wheel and such, because you do have to be quite high level to do that. So Nathan, what's the best generic bike that you would choose for this week?
Ooh, best generic bike. Going with the Zips, the 808s, and I'd probably jump onto that. I think the Canyon would be, let me just double check here, but I think I don't ever have to actually think about this. I'm so bad
No.
because I like there's I believe the Canyon Arrow Road would be the fastest lower end, really easily accessible bike out there, and then I just go with the Zip 808 because you can get those also, I believe, at a fairly low level. Now the new Felt AR also is extremely fast as well. So be watching out for that. Cervelo S5, we do see a lot of people jumping onto that bike. The difference between these bikes is not that much. So, I think that these...
It's not a win or lose situation.
Yeah, it's not. When it comes to these bikes I'm talking about, it is pretty big if you're talking Zwift Basic, right? If you're jumping on the Zwift Basic bike, we're talking a good amount of seconds. But, Canyoneering Road, Truck Madone, Cervelo S5, Felt AR, if you can't get Avenge S-Works, all of those will do fairly well with some 808s on there because you can also grab those at a very low level. If you can't do that, try and find some of the deeper dish, something that's a little bit more deeper dish, because wheels are actually the most important part of all of that.
Yeah, I think it can be a little bit overwhelming when you're first new to Zwift, especially if you don't come from an in real life racing background. When you go into that Zwift shop and you feel like Pretty Woman, you've got the money to spend, but you do not know where to start, and you can definitely get a little bit lost. And if you're so inclined to then delve into some of the articles about which bikes are better, you can lose an entire afternoon trying to do that. But there are a couple, like
they do a great job. They do tons of tests, Kate, and they put a ton of work into it. So that's what that's there for, right? I mean, they just rank them.
Just simplify it so that we don't lose entire afternoons. We only lose a couple of hours going through all of their articles and all of their knowledge. We're looking at the Belladonnas, all of the teams, that top 10, they're all through that 20K split time now. 20K in 30 minutes. They're not wasting any time, are they? That is pretty cracking. So they've got less than the Belladonnas have only got a couple of K left to race here, only 3.5K. Vikings, Iden are the ones that we're really looking at the top here. Zed Sunflowers. They're actually, that gap isn't opening up any further, so they have gotten pretty serious. Now, this is the point out of this little tunnel. It actually says 0% up there, but it always feels like it's a little bit of a kick when you come out of here. And it can just change your speed a bit as they come up and out of here. I would say that that's a tiny bit of a danger point, but they are only a couple of K to go. So even if it's split to pieces, it's not disastrous like it might be in that first couple of K if they do that. But this is hold on time. At this point in the race, nobody's feeling particularly good. Everybody's got to just hold on and see if they can get there.
This is what I was talking about, this section where you could get a speed roll coming through if you're able to get the speeds high enough. We'll see if any of the teams do. 61 kilometers per hour, you can see there was opportunity for Super Tuck there. Anyone who's going to the front right now needs to be holding speed, not slowing down. The moment the person on the front does slow down, everybody behind slows down as well. So accelerations that don't split the pack, but at the same time hold on to the speed that was gained. You see this 46 kilometers per hour, keeping a much higher speed. We saw 43 from one of the lead teams, so it does look like the vegan. Is this going to be the Vegan Bats. Yeah, Vegan Bats here. Team Vegan having a great ride, it looks like, here on the back end of this race. About to catch a few of these riders out, a few of these teams still. I think they might be able to overtake twice before we see the end of this. I am going to jump over to the men's race. We haven't highlighted them too much. We were waiting for their splits to come in. We will jump back to the women finishing, though, as they do. I just want to quickly highlight where they're at, see the splits here for the men, and then we'll jump back on over to the women's side of things. For the men, though, this is the A's Innovation Alien Horde, who are always, Innovation always a super, super strong team. For our splits that are on board, excuse me, no, I'm incorrect. This is the Bees. Sorry about that. Actually, wow. I was, it seen at 8:46. I was just, whoo.
Yeah,
I was
how fast
impressed.
they're going.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the team on right here on screen is going to be your second place currently at a 28:57. This is going to be Sox Watts Aero AF.
Well, you don't often, we haven't so far this week seen many out of 9 minutes.
A little bit of yelling here. Okay, a little bit of.
See? Oh, yeah. I love this.
Please push on. Get out of the way. You overtook us. You better keep moving.
Well, that's fair because this is looking a little bit messy. And it's not only incumbent upon the team that's passing to accelerate. The team being passed also needs to drop back a little bit. If both of them don't do that in good synchronicity, this is what we get. This is not good etiquette and not particularly pleasing. I'm anticipating another message or two that may pop up here. Look, thankfully, emojis don't show up on screen. They can
catch Sox for Watts too, and we just have this three different teams all mixed with each other. I mean, it's a tough spot to be caught because there may be agreed upon pace. On a climb, you can lose so much time. Hopefully the separation does come on the back end. This rider, in my opinion, that's dropped off at this point, Redshaw, he's going to have to give everything he's got to get back on terms or just not be a part of the race any longer. Innovation does have one off the front with Keith Burtson. Bark now needs to give it a good kick. Are they all going to come through? We do see Greg here as well off the front. I mean, this is a mess. Push now. See, there it is. Yeah. Oh, boy.
That's still polite, though. Push now is kind of, come on, hurry up. I mean, I think they're still being quite polite, but let's see if they keep that up. This is frustrating for everybody. And with draft effect, sometimes they're trying their best to get past and make it clean, but that can make it worse, in fact, if you're getting a little bit panicky and like, and I know that in game I've felt like that. Like you just want to get out of someone's way and it's not happening quite as
They're suffering so bad right now. They want to do everything they can to solve this situation, and there's just nothing but like your heart is in your throat, right? Like you can't even talk. Oh, man.
Nathan, check out the mini-map because there are teams everywhere here. This is about to get even messier.
Who is this now? Oh, my goodness. This is going to be MDVIG Basso, 2935 currently. So they're trying to come on through now as well. Go, go. He said this team is like, get out of the way. The Swedish team is like, please, we just want to race our race because now we got Basso in the training piece kit coming on. Now we still got Redshaw. He's not giving in. He's letting, oh my God. We could have 5 teams all together.
All right. Well, look, this is good. This is one of those educational.
Look at this. There's a 15.
How not to. But I can see that this isn't anybody's fault in particular. Everybody's kind of desperately trying to extricate themselves from this situation. Nobody's quite knowing how to do that. This is getting more complicated as we go, as we have so many teams.
I'll jump back to them in just a sec. Sorry, kid. I just want to get the finish for the women here. I don't want to.
Yeah, let's take a look at the women coming in here, and then we can go back to the commentary on the cluster that's happening over there in the men. We've had a couple of teams finish already here. So Vikings are the ones that are on the top. Zed-Sun, these are the challenging teams. So we've been quite curious as to if they can pick up a little bit of time in this back end. They did drop a rider or two to up that speed and efficiency, Nathan.
Oh, Italy are taking some shortcuts here.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
Wow, that's some secret sauce going on there. Oh my goodness. Well, I
That's
mean,
kind of your style, mountain
just
biking.
just
Is
just
this your
cut parts of the.
doing?
This is yeah. I mean, I asked for an addition to the game after this weekend. I needed to cut a couple seconds. So, Margarita here,
So
Paola,
the Italians
Sylvia.
are trying it
I
out.
mean, they just said, forget that corner. We're just going to go straight through. We're not even, of course, I'm just kidding, everyone. It's just usually a network issue trying to find the riders on the client side, not knowing where the riders actually are, and the game's just trying to replace them, usually from some sort of a network issue is all that usually is. But Owen here, Stronin, Aslan, it does look like they did catch Zedson before the line, so Vikings just dominating as they have done.
Yeah, they've increased that, haven't they? That's a big catch. I think psychologically that's a big catch for them to be able to do. But Zed Sun, you've got to give them kudos for putting it all out there and pushing with about that 10K left to go, really making sure that they pushed all the way to give themselves a good chance of that. So it wasn't to be today for them, but still a valiant effort, I would say, from those ladies. So back to the fellas, Nathan. I'm delighted we can only see 4 riders on screen at once. It's a little bit neater, isn't it?
London Dynamo, I believe this is going to be. LDY usually is what we're looking at here. Maybe I'm seeing LDY in the name, but LD Bunnies I'm also seeing. So we've got a lot of names going on here actually with this team. Most likely cutting across some of the different races that they're doing. Different teams that you can jump in amongst. A lot of times the TTT or maybe jumping into because you can ride for multiple teams as long as you're early registered. So perhaps week to week. We've got some more going on here. Redshaw, get off of our wheel, get out of the way. I mean, he's actually mixing amongst. This is what we were talking about. It's almost, oh my gosh. Innovation, if they can hold, I mean, this is a tough one. Push on. You passed us. Get moving.
This is
Stop
not
being lazy.
Throwing it down.
Woo, shots fired.
This is tough, Nathan, because a couple of kilometres ago, there was no excuse really for it being so messy other than it being easy to say, make it a clean overtake, not always that easy. But they're now in the final K or two. They're just going to go as hard as they can. And if that means they're all up in each other's junk, then that's what's going to happen. And so we're definitely seeing that. This is going to have a massive effect overall.
This is where we need road rash. Like grab a chain, a crowbar.
Did you see there's a clip doing the rounds of an under-23 race where one of them fell and actually grabbed a competitor's seat post and essentially skied behind him for 100 metres or so, holding onto this guy's seat post. I'll have to find it for you.
I did not. I did not.
Looks like what's going on here.
Now I'd love to see it. Now they're even analyzing their power, saying you aren't pushing. What are you doing? Oh man, Bark now pushing on. You can see they're trying to catch the Sox Watts team. Now I'm wondering if Sox Watts actually overtook Innovation. They started at 40. So they have they started at 40, but they have 40 minutes in. So Innovation started after them. So Innovation are just having a really good ride. Well, until they got mixed in with the SRT team, the Swedish boys there. So now Sox Watts here with G. James. As you can see, 174, a little bit of separation now. Looks like they're going to get it back together here. Now it's going to be a sprint between each other to the line. They did drop off Mason. Mason will just kind of roll it in. Not needed for the
but that's all right. Here. I mean, we want 6 to come as far as they possibly can, but when it comes into the last little bit, 1 or 2 dropping off is not a big deal. But we keep seeing jerseys that just, one of these is not like the other. It seems like a common theme for today's event, having little mix mash crossing the line, but Socks for Watts sprinting it all the way,
Look at
even
this.
into the orange.
There's
So,
3 teams all together here. Holy cow. MDVIG, Innovation, SRT all together. Now the Bunnies here as well. LD, London Dynamo with 4 riders here. Now, I mean, that you see between all these teams here, a lot of time was shut down by these teams. And then the BZR Lions way back. I mean, that's the big time. Now, not that they're way back in time. They may be doing very well, actually, being one of the top teams here. But as you can see, it's a full minute. So the gaps were not closed down that quickly. I have a feeling it was just the top-seeded team, or not the top-seeded, the lower-seeded teams. I have a feeling perhaps there was not quite as much parity between them, not quite as even when it comes to the abilities between the teams. So a lot of catches were made. Now BZR Lions and BRT, Provision as well. I think there's a little bit more of a battle going on amongst the time gaps between them.
Yeah, I'm still kind of giggling at the mess that was happening with the overtake. It when you then pan back to this, it makes it look so neat and civilized, doesn't it? This is what everybody hopes that their race will look like in the closing couple of 100 meters versus the reality. It's like one of those memes. What I say it looks like, what it actually looks like. So it is worth giving credit to the teams that managed to get across the line in neat order, because it's certainly more of a skill. They make it look pretty easy, which is something I think the WTRL league and all those teams' time trials has done, is that it's taught riders across all of these different levels to be quite proficient in teams' time trialing and quite neat. And then as they do get fitter and stronger over the years for the riders who are on that trajectory, we then often see them stepping up divisions because they're stronger. So Provision Racing, you'd know a thing or two about these lads, I'd say, Nathan.
Yeah,
they're coming into
just a little bit.
Interesting,
the kit that they're using, though, with Provision. I wonder if perhaps, but that is Stonesholm, so that's definitely Vision. Perhaps they just wanted to swap it up a little bit for the team kit there. But always good to see the Vision boys and girls out on course. Thompson now bringing in Bell as well as Hughes. Shilton, nice little kick to the line here coming from them in their orange kits. I'm going to see who, I'm not positive which team that they're riding for, as I don't have anything in the game there, but KWCC, they're going to be next.
And another team who have chosen.
What time is it there, Kate? I'm just going to give everybody an idea what's happening with Kate right now. I asked Kate this morning. I was like, Kate, we just got done with APAC. Go to sleep right now. Just go to sleep, because we have a broadcast at 4 a.m. So Kate was very gracious and gave last minute to jump on, as Anna is de-essing right now, I think, actually, over for Stars to Clothes Closet for the women.
Yeah. I mean, I try and mute if I'm going to yawn, Nathan, but sometimes it gets the better of me, just mid-sentence. But what I do love, and I did it a bit last season too, is jump in with this racing. It gives you quite a good view of all of the leagues in general, because APAC has quite a different flavour to America West, and EMEA different again. And that's from the way they communicate to, the different nations and the different strategies that are out there. I'm keen to see what NZ, like if Team NL, if the Dutch team can hold off Electric Spirit, that'll be a good one overall, because there are only a few seconds there. And Magento, who we just saw going across the line there too, they're not far back either. Some really tight racing.
Yeah, DZR here. This has Matt Bank Anderson as well. I mean, these are some serious teams. I'm not kidding. I've seen these teams around for a while. I mean, we've even, it's a verified rider here, Eric. I'm not sure who Eric is riding for dirt. Is that actually going to be Eric Schlange? Now, I mean, they're all followed, boom, one after another. Now Glasgow as well. I mean, they really shut some times down here. Is that?
Look at the splits.
That might be Zwift Insider himself, if I'm not, I mean.
Ooh, that is exciting if you have Zwift Insider.
Yeah, it was. That was the verified badge. It was unreal. Eric Schlange. So great to see him out here riding with the dirt and the Dirty Beast Hellhounds at 27:58. Is that them? What a time! Did they able to hold off Team Netherlands? I mean, they had a solid over 20 seconds. So Zwift Insider showing why they got the inside information there. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, at 20K to go, after 20 kilometers,
this is the mayhem.
From second to ninth, there was only 30 seconds gap between all of them. So it'll be very interesting to see this final result board, Nathan, because that is absolutely the tightest race that we've seen in any division so far, to have so many within 30 seconds. So it looks like the Hellhounds had a cracking ride at the front there, but we'll see how that all pans out. Haywood coming in here on his own. Good to see him finish. I think it would be easy for some of the riders who their team has already finished to double click and not bother, but I think it's shows a good commitment and a good loyalty that they're still out there and just making their way to the finish. So good on you, Haywood. You're doing a great job there. All of
giving
the
us a
teams
little kick.
Oh,
he's probably watching this stream. Let's go, Haywood.
Jeez,
this is actually. Do you see the Zwift, the 808 there, as well as the very, very newbie kit though when it comes to the bike? But you do see he is able to still get some fast wheels on there, so that's the way to go.
And Ben Sandford, he's the Dutch rider. They've got a great kit. It's very distinctive to their actual national kit, actually, in many ways. I think I've seen up close, they even have the BioRacer logo on there, so that's pretty cool. But I'm noticing that a lot of, there it is, a lot of the new Zwifters who haven't been, who aren't up on high levels, are often finding themselves getting dropped from a team's time trial more because of learning the draft and that sort of thing, rather than actually having the physical ability. And they're the ones that you often see sprinting toward the finish because they've still got a bit left in the tank. They just, it's easy to get dropped. And once that gap opens up to a couple of seconds, it's almost impossible from a speed perspective to then get back on. So it's learning the art of it, if nothing else. But great to see all the riders making their way in.
So what were we seeing there? We were seeing the mayhem that is the leftover of burning all the matches and letting riders go. I think is what we were looking at there. I wanted to give a shout out to Sherpa Dave real quick. He does put course recons together over on YouTube. He is hanging out in chat over at YouTube. He says, awesome race in the EMEA South C2 and then jumped down here. He says it happened in his dev as well, where there were a lot of riders up on top of each other like we saw just now in this division. If you're in the last couple of KMs, all bets are off. And that's kind of true. Like, I think it's kind of like your last couple of KMs, it's like, we're just going to go as fast as we can possibly go. Sorry. Like, it's time to sprint for the line. Definitely go check out Sherpa Dave. If you are in chat or you do see his click his little link there. He does some amazing job, actually. Course recons every week, TTT, as well as ZRL. Super appreciate. You know, also going on at this time, right now, I want to shoot people over as we get through results and everything. The Zwift Racing League at the top level for the women are out on course. So they are heading out and just starting their TTT. Only 1 point. So I'm actually watching in short over on Zwift Live right now. So definitely everybody can go check that out.
Multitasking. How are you going there?
Well, I mean,
can't get enough of it.
That's what these riders are shooting for, right? At least at the A category level, a lot of the teams that were out on course just now or might be coming to watch the broadcast, they're thinking about that top level and getting that promotion through the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's a big motivator at this point in the season. You see it change a little bit. Often some of the teams that are more comfortable at the top and are comfortable that they might be going into the playoffs, sometimes they try different tactics, almost like they're just trying it out before they actually get to that playoff stage and have to really test it. And you see some others that are fighting for their life to not get demoted down in grades. And so, you know, I think it's the most interesting weeks because you really have the bookend of things going on. I would love to be a fly on the wall to see some of the chatter that happened amongst those teams. And Sherpa Dave's right that once you get to that back end of the race, You've just got to do what you've got to do to get to the finish. Nobody's sitting up and saying, off you go and wiping 10 kilometres off their speed to let it happen, because both teams would be saying, well, this isn't our fault. This is your doing. There'll be a little bit of finger pointing going on some social media chat boards, I reckon, maybe some colourful language. It was good. We didn't see any colourful language today. We have previously. So everybody's,
there was a little bit,
there was a little,
it got close. But no, there was no name calling. There was no straight name calling. So that was nice.
Which is good. No asterisks is needed. Have we got some results coming through, Nathan?
We do have some results. We can jump right on in with the women. On the women's side of things, it is in the B's. I mean, again, unstoppable. The Vikings, Aidan. They are at 120 points coming in. They're at 140 after today. The vegan bats, though. What a ride from them. Solid at 45 seconds back there. Zed Sun there, 15 seconds back from them. The Flowers, 3.4 watts per kilogram. Team Electric Spirit Company, we were in with them for quite a while. The Clover Club, they were 42 back from Zed Sunflowers. In fourth place, it's going to be your herd of Magellanic penguins. Magellanic penguins, they're 154. It was close. We got to hang out with them for quite a while. We got to see what they look like in real life and their attitudes, staring at the camera, loving the herd team. Cursed for free bees there, 219 back there at sixth place. Pink My Ride, we saw this early on. I was really surprised early on what kind of times they were putting in. They obviously had done some homework. They showed up to race today because they were the lowest ranked team. Well, this week, they are sitting in seventh place and working their way up. Good on them. They're coming in seventh place. HDR Belladonna's there in eighth, followed by VCR Vislas, and it's going to be Team Italy. Pink Ladies, they take down 10th place in the C category.
All right, let's take a look here. The Kirschmere Power Queen Bees powered to the finish. Big win there too. 53 seconds ahead of the BM Pro Ladies. Hashtag Nimisat. Herd of Rock Hopper Penguins sitting in third. You know what I love about the Penguins? They're such a loyal animal. So when a team names themselves after penguins, they automatically seem like they must be pretty cool people. The Drafting Dinos, they came in fourth. I mean, at 41 back. Serrano Hams in fifth. Gee, they did well because they're actually sitting in 10th position overall. So they had a pretty good day out, of course. Zesp, Libras, they are in sixth. Rafa RCC Women's C2 coming in seventh, and all pretty clustered together on time here. Rave C Euro in eighth. The BRT Panthers in ninth, and the Greek Amazones rounding out that top 10. But still at 2.7 watts per kg, so still hoofing it along. So not a lot of differential across the board here. So let's take a look at the A's here in the men's mix, Nathan.
Yeah, it's going to be the Swedish team, SZ Henrad, coming on through with the 37.54. Zed Sunderstatement there in second place, only 6 seconds back, very tight at the top, and they are battling for playoff spots. So be on the watch out for this. Cryogen Valthorens there, they come on through 17 seconds back in third. Team Italy 1, they are the leaders here of this. So Team Time Trial may be struggling a little bit. Only 20 seconds, though, so very close. This is going to be an interesting one to watch. Let's see who comes through. I think Italy are very motivated as well. I'd be watching out for these top 5 even to really try and make something happen at the back end here on Surrey Hills next week. BRT Hurricane in 5th place, followed by Quick and Dirty in 6th. It's going to be WTR Skyrocket, also a very well-known team, in 7th place there. And then it's going to be Team CLS Road Train in 8th. Team Type 1 Asymptomatics in 9th. And then LD Fat Steaks, they come on through 4.
Fat Steaks, that's quite a funny name, actually.
This is what we were watching. And look, the Dirty Beasts, Kate.
Wow, jeepers. They did well. 31 seconds. That was pretty convincing lead for them there. And 40 minutes and 12 seconds. They were pushing pretty hard to get under that 40-minute mark. They did very well. Magneto, in second, 31 seconds back. The Dutch team, Team NLB2, 32 seconds back. That was a push all the way to the line. Interesting to note that solid differential in watts per kg. We were talking about efficiency there. So that's an interesting one. 4 for Magneto. So they've certainly got some power under the hood there. Team Electric Spirit.co Gibson in fourth. The INC Alien Horde, we watched them a fair bit too in fifth. Pro Division Racing, your boys in sixth. Socks for Watts. Aero AF in seventh. The DZR Road Rascals in eighth. KW Wheelers in ninth. The After Party People in 10th. And this is
like that name.
Where we had a little, yeah, it's good, isn't it? We had a little bit of action here, a little bit of cranky going on with some overtakes and a little bit of traffic out on course. But the time gaps actually ended up a little bit bigger than what we might have thought at the 20k in mark. So great ride from the Hellhounds.
And then in the C category, it's going to be Cranley CC Babs there. BAB Babs 43.48. KRTC Love Guns in second there. Only 5 seconds back. Very close. Then it does open up a little bit there for third and fourth, but still a battle. And I think it's also a battle on the standings between these teams here, but it's going to be Ninja CCM Kango and then TFC Thor in fourth place there. BRTC sectioned coming on through in fifth. It's going to be Team Electric Spirit. I was going to make some sort of like razor or like scalpel joke. No, not too soon or something. I don't know. Team Electric CEO Pickleback.
I think it's always too soon.
LD Sawyers, they're squirrels. They're in seventh. They're followed up RWB Serrano C1. TBR 45T in ninth. And then it's going to be Team CLS Express coming on through 10th place. And then in the D's, they may still be finishing up out here. So we're going to let that, you can head on over to WTRL.racing and check out the rest of the points. I did want, Kate, to highlight here. We were talking a little bit about the parity at the top end of the racing. Oh, and that's actually Anna's face. That's not exactly what we were.
Oh,
she's still hanging out for a moment. But so as you can see here at the top end, you were talking about how close the racing is. When you get to that very, very thread the needle of what kind of fitness people can get from all over the world. And when you get the fastest people from all over the world, the differences are like not even 1%, right? It's like 0.5%, a 1/4%. And look at the times here in the elites. In the Zwift live broadcast here for the Premier Division. I mean, we're talking, it was less than a second coming through some of the first checkpoints.
Wow, that's incredible how tight it is. Look how neat they are too. And how fast they're going. And granted, they're going downhill at the moment, but they still really capitalise on every single metre by making sure they get back up to speed and work very well as a unit. It's great to see Beast Mode up there because they were new to this racing scene last season to Zwift. So Beast Mode stepped up in the men and the women with quite a bang, actually, made quite a big impact. So it's great to see them continuing to go on. But Cyrus the Pro's Closet, a good shout out to them. And Anna, I'll send my coffee invoice to you, Anna, for this morning's effort for my 3:55 alarm. So that you
did a great job. I think I woke you up a little bit too much. Are you going to be getting some you were talking about going back to sleep. And they do head on over to the broadcast. It's happening right now. You can see Caroline Williams. Actually, she's doing an amazing charity event this coming weekend, I believe it is, doing some sort of insanity, like almost 200 kilometers a day, I think it is. She's going to be doing in memory of her son, who died shortly after birth, actually. I think it was 6 years ago. It's coming up on the anniversary, and she raises money each year for that. Really cool thing she's doing out on Zwift. The Ionian race team, they earned their spot. That's pretty cool to see them up there now. So, and these are teams we've all commentated on as they come on through the community. So head on over to Zwift Live. Check out the Premier Division. It's happening right now. Always fun to see.
Yep. And then, of course, we've still got America East and America West coming up. And Nathan, next week it's Surrey Hills, and that is the final week of racing of the normal season. Let's take a quick look before they do then head into playoffs. Oh, yikey. Leith Hill, she's solid. Keith Hill, she's a solid. Fox Hill, is not worth
I
sneezing
thought
at.
you were going to
This
say
is gonna be a
something
pretty
else.
tough one.
I thought you were going to
Oh.
say something else about that hill after 2 other hills. Oh, just forget hills. I thought you were saying freaking hills.
Yes.
I mean, but that's
I mean, at
essentially
this time
what's
of day,
happening.
I have to be careful.
Oh, man, Surrey Hills next week.
It-
But still tonight we've got
it's a tough
America's West,
course.
East and West. That's for sure too. So lots of TTTs
Yeah.
yet to come. I'll be on with Dave for America's East. You're going to be on with Dave as long as you're still awake and you've got enough coffee in you in for
back
America's
awake
West.
again.
So,
Well, thank you for having me, EMEA. It's been a pleasure. And Nathan as well. And we'll see you later. And we'll see you next week if you're just dialed in for this one.
cheers, everybody.